JJ Jinx!
Truck Stop Knives!
Welcome to another episode of Under the Microscope with your friend JJ Jinx and his Truck Stop Knives! But before we get to the microscope, I wanted to talk about this knife. This is another knife that I found in my creepy-ass basement when I bought the house, kind of like this Camillus electrician's knife, which I gotta get out to Tristan. And this one was down there as well. It's obviously a Filet knife. The person who used to live here was really big into fishing, and it's got a very rubbery handle, a yellow insert, and it goes all the way to the bottom. And it says on the blade, oh gosh, this is gonna be hard to see. It's some kind of H in a box, and then in kind of block lettering it says prime cut, and then over on the left it says B5F, and then stainless, Sweden. And then there's some kind of a number here that got kind of cut off because this has been sharpened quite a lot, and this knife is really sharp, so the guy really took care of it. And then for some reason in the handle there's melted letters and numbers or something. I have no idea what this is. To me it looks like an 819 smear M. No clue. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to look around online and see what I can find out about this thing. I couldn't find very much at all. So now I'm intrigued. So this company, Prime Cut, is still around, but they don't make knives anymore. They make saw blades for industrial food processing. Okay. Now, I found a couple of photos of this knife, but one of them was for an eBay listing that no longer exists, and the other one was like a Pinterest board or something. No information. I don't know. So they also have basically the same handle but a different blade for chef's knives. But I have no idea how old they are. I don't know anything about this knife. I can't find any information. So now I'm intrigued. I got to figure it out. So if anybody knows the history of the H Prime Cut Swedish knives. Now, I guess one possible clue was the link to the company that makes the industrial saw blades was a part of Mora's website. So this company might have possibly been acquired by Moraniv. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. So I always pronounced it Moraniv, but I've heard other people say Morakniv, which I think sounds cooler. Yeah, so that's another knife that came with my house. But now I want to talk about this knife. This is a knife I got in the Bud K Mystery Scratch and Dent box. Came with a really nice sheath. It's a Timberwolf, and this is one of the Damascus blades. And this one did have a defect in it. I won't go over this whole knife because I've already done that, but it is a Damascus style steel. And I thought it would be really interesting to have a look at this one up close under the microscope. Same one I used last time. It was the Leica stereoscope. So, well, let's get up close and personal. Okay. So here we are looking at what I think is the logo or symbol of Timberwolf. I don't know, I've seen this on a bunch of their knives. It's kind of like a revolver barrel. Just a bunch of, like, I guess they made a bunch of tubes together with this brass thing in the middle and sliced it and slapped it into their bone handle. And it's surrounded by this ring of wood, and you can see the rings into the wood there. Pretty interesting. I don't know what this symbol means exactly, but yeah, it's a Timberwolf thing. And that's a real bone handle. I don't know what kind of bone. It said stag. And here's one of the bolsters. And this is why I really like Damascus steel. What we're looking at is a whole bunch of plates of metal, of steel, that have been folded and compressed over and over and over again, and all of the lines that you see are the edges, and they get kind of disorganized, and you get these cool little patterns in it. Like this one are a bunch of little pieces of metal that have been flattened out, and they make these circles. And there's that little tiny one there on the right, that little tiny bit of steel that made it into that spot. And if you do it right, you can get really cool patterns. Anyway, let's look at the blade. It's kind of curved, so I gotta fix the focus. So more layers of steel, and even when it's really disorganized like this, it's still very beautiful. Let's have a look at the edge. This is one of the defects I noticed. This did come from a scratch and dent box after all. That looks like a, I don't know, it looks like a ding. Like a chunk of it just got like knocked out of it or something. Maybe they dropped it on the floor really hard, and there's some pitting. This edge is not very good if you see it. I mean, you can see where the Damascus layering kind of comes through, and it looks like pitting, but it's just not ground very well. And it's only one edge. There's no secondary edge. It's a Bud K product, after all. Now, I wanted to go back. There was this this big pit kind of on the top of the blade that I wanted to look at up close. And so in addition to that ding in the edge there, this nasty looking pit thing. There's the thumb stud. Oh yeah, I gotta flip it over first. Yeah, there it is. Kind of looks like a cigarette burn. So it's cosmetic, but what happened here? It's sort of a mess. I guess it was an incomplete hammering job, or I don't know, however they made this thing, because this is just really kind of metal that just didn't get flattened out and remained in this mushy state, and that's the defect that caused it to come my way. Here's another little tiny thing. God, Damascus steel is so cool. This has been another episode of J.J. Jinx Truck Stop Knives.